विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Om Sri Sai Ram. We offer our most reverent pranam at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Today is the fourth day of Sri Sathya Sai Summer Course, 6th page. We welcome all our seniors and participants to this morning session of online summer course. I request Brother Umakanta to share the information regarding today's subject and speaker. Sai Ram, Brother Umakanta.
ॐ कर्तिवासाय विद्महे प्रेमरूपाय धीमहि तन्नः साई प्रचोदयात्. We offer our most reverential pranam at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Swami, with your guidance, this program is being conducted, taking your own discourses, summer hours in Brindavan 72, taking your own students as speakers, and for your own children of Odisha. Respected elders, dear Sai brothers and sisters, and today's speaker, Professor Sanjay Sahni from Prasant Nilam, we welcome you all to the fourth day of this online summer course in spirituality and Indian culture. It's our privilege to welcome Sir, who is an alumnus of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. He was a student of the first batch of the 5-year integrated commerce program from the year 82 to 1987. He won the gold medal from Bhagavan's hand for academic excellence, both for his Bachelor's of Commerce as well as Master's of Commerce program. Soon after his master program, Swami blessed him to join Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning as a faculty member in the Department of Commerce in the year 1987. He subsequently served as the warden of the senior boys hostel at Prasant Nilam campus from 1990 to 93 before moving to Brindavan campus. He was a faculty member at the Department of Commerce at Brindavan and in 2002 assumed the role of the director of Brindavan campus. Currently, Professor Sanjay Sahni sir is working as the controller of examinations of the university in Prasant Nilam Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning from 2016. Sir, we are fortunate to have you. It's Bhagavan's blessings for us, and today we'll be discussing the summer hours in Brindavan in hard copies from chapter 10, 11, 12. Now, we request you please carry on the session. It's over to Sanjay Sahni sir. Sai Ram, welcome.
Sai Ram, Dr. Umakant. My loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet and reverential pranams to all our elders who are there participating in today's session and all our young participants from Odisha. The summer course in Indian culture and spirituality is Bhagwan's special gift to the youth of this country. 1972, he commenced this program for the youth of Sri Sathya Sai organization all over the country. And this went on till 1979. Then in the year 1990, Bhagwan recommenced the summer course, but this time it was for the university students. All the three campuses of the university would gather at the lotus feet of Bhagwan in Brindavan in the month of May. It came to be called Summer Showers in Brindavan. That is how all his discourses during the summer course were titled. I have very fond memories of summer courses of yesteryears. In fact, my first darshan itself was during a summer course. It was the year 1978. We had come on a South India tour with my parents, and the last halt was Bangalore. And every day from the city we would go for Bhagwan's darshan, and that was the time when summer course was being organized. One very vivid memory I have of that period. One day Swami's discourse was going on in the college auditorium, and we were a group of devotees who were not participants but willing to sit outside the auditorium to listen to Bhagwan's discourse. And as is common in Bangalore and in Brindavan in the month of May, it was evening time. It started raining. So all the devotees got up. I also got up. But we didn't want to go away because Swami was still in the auditorium. So we went near the wall of the auditorium to protect ourselves from the rain. And when we went close, we were able to peep into the auditorium through the windows. And Swami was on the stage. He was giving his discourse. Suddenly we found that he stopped his discourse. He called somebody and gave some instruction. The next thing we realized was that the front door of the auditorium opened and we were beckoned inside. Swami is calling you all. So we rushed in, and right in front of the first row of the college auditorium, the seats were for the elders there. In front of them, we were asked to sit on the floor, and it was such a wonderful experience that we were nowhere outside, thinking that we are not part of that beloved group of Bhagwan who are fortunate to attend the summer course seated in the auditorium. Suddenly, Swami calls us and puts us right in front of the first row of the participants. That was a very, very precious moment for me, and till date, I have not forgotten it. So, summer course brings back beautiful memories for me personally. And with these few words, I would like to now venture into the theme for today's discussion, which is Bhagwan's discourses. There are three of them. And the approach that I thought I will adopt is to take up some select important themes from the three discourses of Swami, and you would have read all the discourses yourself. By chance, if anything doesn't get covered in the discussion in the morning, you could send your questions and we could take up those questions in the evening session. One day, a school teacher sends word to the father of one of her students, please come and meet me in the school. So the father was little concerned, maybe my son has not behaved properly, there may be some discipline, or he may not have done his studies properly. So he was a little hesitant, a little afraid what is to come. But what finally transpired when he met the teacher was very, very astonishing for him. So when he went to meet the teacher complained to the father, please ensure that your son does not see this TV program, TV serial, Kaun Banega Karorpati. So the father was very surprised. He thought this is something like an educational program. It is only for enhancing your knowledge. It is a quiz format. So why is the teacher saying that don't allow your son to see this TV serial? So then the teacher explained, I asked your son this question. What is the name of your father? And your son replied, after a few moments of thought, what are the choices that you have to give me before I answer your question? So the teacher felt this is the bad influence of watching programs like Kaun Banega Crorepati. Now I am using this anecdote to highlight a very important point. The child was asked, who is your father? And he says, please tell me the choices, then I will choose among the alternatives which is the most appropriate answer. So in the same way, modern man, when he is asked, who is your divine parent, they don't know. They don't know God, who has created the whole world, who has created you and me. And they do not know because who explains or who introduces a child to his or her father? It is the mother. It is the mother who will tell the child, see, this is your father and this is how you must respect him, this is how you must regard him, this is how you must love him. So these two eyes of man, the father and mother, are not available to modern man, especially to modern youth. Who is the mother? The mother is the culture we are born in, and the father is divinity, God. So the purpose of going through a course on Indian culture and spirituality is to get exposed first to our mother. The culture, Indian culture, Sanatan Dharma, is the mother of each Indian. And through that process, through that understanding, through that exposure to her rich heritage, we get introduced to the divine Lord, who is the master of the whole universe. So that is the purpose of having this summer course in Indian culture and spirituality. In fact, in one of the discourses, Swami himself mentions that this summer course has been organized to prepare the future citizens of the country. Not only that, he says it is to prepare the future spiritual army. The warriors for the spiritual army are being trained in this summer course. So, congratulations to every participant who has come forward to get trained at the lotus feet in the nuances of our culture, which is having the underlying basis of spirituality. What is spirituality? Swami was unique in his teachings when the most abstract of concepts he will explain in very pithy single lines. This is how he defined spirituality. He says, man is an amalgam of the animal, the human, and the divine. Spirituality is the approach to annihilate the animality in man, to manifest the human values, to foster the human values that are there in man, and to manifest his divinity, which is embedded in his heart. That is what spiritual life is all about. The third discourse that Swami gave in today's set of discourses is titled Shankar Jayanti. It was delivered obviously on the birthday of Adi Shankaracharya. In a discourse many years ago, Swami told about Adi Shankaracharya. Thus, he said, if Adi Shankaracharya at that point of history did not make his advent in India, by today, India would have become another China. Meaning to say that we would have been far, far deviated from the lofty vision that our ancient ancestors had placed before all of us as ideals to follow. We would have got alienated from the spiritual core of our country, and this would have truly become a godless country of atheists. If that has not happened, great saints and seers, messengers of the Lord, messengers of his pristine, pure truth, like Adi Shankaracharya, have played a human contribution throughout history. In his Vivek Chudamani, Adi Shankaracharya makes a cryptic remark. Swami said, do not celebrate birthdays of these great saints and seers with mere food and recreation. It is not a holy holiday, it is a holy day. And take at least one saying of these great masters, great rishis, and try to understand the significance of their message and how it can be practiced and integrated in life. So Adi Shankara, in his Vivek Chudamani, makes a cryptic statement. Swami also refers to this statement in one of these discourses. He says, Jantu nam nara janma durlabham. Among the 84 lakhs of species that exist on earth, man is the crown jewel in the whole of creation. Among all life forms, Among all kinds of births which exist and are possible, man's birth, Jantu Nam Nara Janma Durlabham, very, very difficult to get a human birth. What is so difficult about it? And why is a human birth so special? See, in a program dedicated to Indian culture and spirituality, this is something which each one of us has to very carefully deliberate on. Among all the species on earth, after every evolution of life from one to the other, from the amoeba to the plant to the animal to finally human, the highest evolution takes place when man is born. What is special about human life? How is it different from animal life? Certain things we share with the animals. As Swami himself points out, ahara, nidra, bhaya, and maithuna. Ahara, food, nidra, sleep, bhaya, fear. Nowadays with this coronavirus infection, so much of fear is unnecessarily spreading as if it is going to kill all of us yesterday. We need not be afraid. Swami used to say, when I am here, why fear? So, but this is a quality of the animal life, and when we express that fear in our own life, without recognizing that life is a challenge and we have to face every challenge as it comes, we are actually manifesting our own animal behavior. And the fourth is Maithuna, procreation. These are four characteristics that every human being shares with the animals. But then what is special about human life? And this is the speciality. If a being is born as a dog, it will die as a dog. If it's born as a donkey, it will die as a donkey. If it's born as a snake, it will die as a snake. But man and man alone is the only species in the entire creation of God that though born as man, he or she can realize who he is, realize his identity, and die as God. That is why it is considered that even gods, for their liberation, aspire for a human birth. So that is the speciality of being born as a human being. One day, Swami mentions in a conversation with the teachers of the university, he was saying, having been born as a human being, there's one thing which very special happens in evolution. Once born as a human being, the soul will never again revert back to an animal existence again. There's an exception for that. I'll come to it, but please understand the import of what he said. The soul which has evolved from lower life forms to the human life form will never ever go back to an animal existence again in any future life. For the actions that a person has done, he may be born poor, he may be born maimed, he may be diseased, he may have other kinds of calamities affecting him in human life, but he will not go back to animal existence again. And there is only one exception which Swami said when this can happen is when he is under a curse. When somebody curses, not everybody can curse, but when that individual faces a curse, then he may go back to another life form. So we'll come to it as we deliberate today. But look at the preciousness of human existence. So, therefore, having got this human life, it is so very, very important to explore what should we do with this kind of a gift that God has given us to each one of us. Now, there are many contributions of Indian culture to world thought and world culture. But there are three unique contributions of Sanatan Dharma to the world culture and world thought, which Swami also has highlighted. These three you may not find so vividly described in other cultures of the world, and therefore we must understand the significance of these unique contributions of India. The first is the concept of an avatar, that God, out of his love for humanity, love for his devotees, leaves his heavenly abode and comes down to be amidst all of us. That is the concept of the avatar. Lot to say about it, but we will leave it at this point. The second important contribution of Indian thought and Indian culture is the concept of karma, action, and the law of karma, because this is something which is highlighted and underlined by Swami in his very first discourse. So I thought I'll spend some time on this, taking examples from our various scriptures, itihasas, puranas like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, which Swami also has done. And the third important contribution is reincarnation, that life is not just the end. Life after life, the soul is going on its journey till it finally reaches the destination, which is God. So, these three important thoughts are unique contribution of Indian culture and spirituality to the world's spiritual heritage and cultural heritage. Now, apparently in the 1972 summer course, some student posed this question to Bhagwan, Swami, please can you tell us the significance of what is Sanchita Karma, Prarabdha Karma and Agami Karma? And accordingly, what is the role of divine grace in life? So I thought I will take some little time to explain this very unique ideas on the karma as well as on the operation of the law of karma. Now, karma in this classification is of three types. Sanchita karma, which is every action has a reaction. So the fruits of all the actions accumulated over several lifetimes is called Sanchita Karma. It is like the quiver of a hunter which has all the arrows safely parked within itself. Then we have Prarabdha Karma. Out of that accumulated balance of karma, that karma which is to be experienced in this lifetime is called the Prarabdha Karma. So there are so many consequences of our actions accumulated, but everything you are not going to experience in one lifetime. It may be spread. God is very merciful. Some consequences are very beneficial. Some consequences may not be liked by us, but God allows that to be spread over several lifetimes. So that part of Sanchita Karma whose fruits we are going to experience in this lifetime is called prarabdha karma. It is like from the quiver of arrows, there are 10 arrows in your quiver. Out of that, you pick up one arrow to shoot to your target. That one arrow in your hand, which is about to be shot, is called, or which the hunter shoots, is called the prarabdha karma, which you will experience in this lifetime. And the third is agami karma. Karma which you do today, whose consequences will come to us in the future. So people think, especially some scholars in the West expressed a thought, Indians are very fatalistic. Everything they say, this is my karma, this is my fate, this is my destiny. And so people in India are a very fatalistic people. But one thing one should recognize, and which Swami has underlined for us, who has written your fate? Nobody else has written your fate. You and you alone are the writer of your fate. And therefore, you and you alone have the power to erase that fate of yours. Now, this question was posed that Swami, if all of us have to go through and experience our prarabdha karma, then why should we worship God? Why should we pray to God? Why we should depend on God? So what is the role of the divine in our life? Should we have any place for God in our life? If whatever we have done, we have to experience it. And then Swami said, yes, there is a role, though this is the law that God has placed, that whatever you do in life, you will face its consequence. There are no rewards and punishments in life. There are only consequences. But having laid that law, there is also what is called as love of the divine, which flows to the devotee, flows to the aspirant who seeks his grace. Now, let me in this context explain one small incident which Swami highlighted for the students on this particular subject when he was addressing them in Brindavan in Bangalore. So one day Swami was remembering his very ardent devotee by name Mr. Suraya, who was in the ashram at Prashantinilayam and served Swami for many years. For many years, he was also the manager of the South Indian canteen in the ashram. So he was ardent devotee of Swami. But Swami said one thing, of course, he would describe very humorously how Suraya used to take care of the canteen and serve the devotees there. He said, supposing a busload of devotees unexpectedly land up in the ashram and they come to the canteen for food, what was Suraya's solution? He will take one bucket of water, pour it into the sambar vessel, another bucket of water, pour it into the rasam vessel, and that is how the people would be served food. So Suraya had simple solutions for unexpected situations like this. So Swami was very humorously describing that. But then one point Swami mentioned about Suraya's personality. He said he had a very sharp tongue. Swami always used to tell students, you may not oblige always, but you can speak obligingly. And Suraya had a very sharp tongue, and everybody used to be afraid of that. So Swami described one day the governor of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Burgul Ramakrishna Rao, apparently he had come outside the canteen timings and he was a very unassuming gentleman. without any paraphernalia which a governor of a state is entitled to, very humbly, short stature man went to the canteen and Mr. Suraya was there. So Mr. Ramakrishna Rao asked Suraya, "Sir, can I get some food?" So he is coming beyond the canteen timings. So obviously he has to ask the manager because otherwise he will not get food. So Mr. Suraya asks him, "Who are you?" Now, any other person in that position could have, put forth his credentials and saying, "I am such a VIP and therefore, I expect that you will give me VIP treatment." But Burgul Ramakrishna Rao was a very, very humble devotee. So very, very humbly he said, "Sir, I am Burgul Ramakrishna Rao." Now that name was very, very famous and very well known to Sai devotees. But Suraya did not recognize this gentleman. So when he said like that, this is how Swami demonstrated to us, mischievously. He said, "Next you are going to tell me that you are the governor of Uttar Pradesh." Imagine telling the governor this kind of a statement. But Swami said, "See, this is how our Suraya used to talk to people. Even the governor of a state he would not spare." So very humorously, Swami was describing this devotee. Of course, these were wonderful opportunities for us to remember his devotees and for Swami also to remember his devotees. They were wonderful excuses for him to remember his devotees. But through that process, Swami explained a very important and gave a very important insight to the students. When Suraya came to the last moments of his life, physically he was very ill, so much so that he was in the ashram. That's what I came to know, in his room, and he was in such a pitiable situation that nobody would even dare to step into that room. It was always stinking because all the daily ablutions he was doing on the bed itself. So it was in such a sorry state of affairs. But in that condition, Swami visited Suraya in his room. And Swami told Suraya, "See, Suraya, for all the hurt that you have caused to my devotees over such a long period of time, the consequence of that has come in the shape of your last moments being so painful for you. But because you served me with so much of dedication here in the ashram, that Seva has earned for you the fortune of seeing me at your bedside during your last moments." So look at the insight which Swami provided to the students, taking the example of Suraya. For all the good that he did, he got the reward in terms of the Lord's darshan at his bedside when his last moments were coming near. But for the wrongs that he did, that also consequence, Swami explained, came to him. So therefore, through that, Swami validated. See, this is how he has designed the whole cosmos. He designed life in the universe, that he given man the freedom to do whatever he wants with a rider, that whatever you do, its consequence will come to you. So that is how the law of karma operates. Now, therefore, this particular principle provides us with an incentive that do good, good will come to you. When you need it, it will come to your rescue. And avoid doing wrong things so that you can be saved from the consequences of the bitter fruits which will come in the future, but with a timing which may not be to your liking. I will take an example from the Mahabharata Bhagavatam to illustrate this particular idea. A great exponent on the Srimad Bhagavatam in one of our earlier summer courses was Professor Prema Panduranga. She was speaking to the students, and in the course of her lecture, she said, I am not jealous of rich people. I am not jealous of handsome people. I am not jealous of intelligent people. I am jealous of devout people. Devotees like the Pandavas who purchased the Lord wholesale. The grandfather Arjuna made the Lord an unpaid driver of his chariot for 18 days of the Mahabharata war. The grandson Parikshit, he had the blessing of making the Lord a co-tenant in his own mother's womb. Even before he was born, he had the darshan of the Lord to protect him from Ashwathama's Brahmastra, to protect him in the womb of his mother. And what shall we say of Draupadi? Draupadi made the Lord, or transformed the Lord into a textile mill. So she said, I am very jealous of the Pandava family who could purchase the Lord wholesale. Now, taking the example of Draupadi, Draupadi was a great devotee of Bhagwan. One day, Professor Anil Kumar, the then principal of Brindavan College, was speaking in Trai Brindavan in Swami's presence. And he referred to an episode where Duryodhana in the Mahabharata visits the Maya Sabha of Dharmaraja. And it was an amazing architectural marvel. The particular hall was designed by Maya, and he was such an amazing, magical construction where there were no doors. Doors had been placed, but you would not see. Where there were doors, you may not be able to see, and the person would bang his head. Where there was no water, it appeared that there was a small little pool of water there with flowers and plants there. So an amazing construction, and Duryodhana had many awkward situations to just go through that particular hall. So the Mahabharata describes how, when seeing his discomfiture, people laughed. The ladies in the palace, they laughed, and Duryodhana looked up and he sees Draupadi, and that's how people have described it, that Draupadi laughed at Duryodhana. So this is what Anil Kumar sir mentioned in his talk. The moment he said it, immediately Swami corrected him and he said, you think Draupadi was so cheap? She did not laugh. It was actually the maid servants who were laughing. Draupadi was in her inner chamber, and then when she came out to see what was the cause of the laughter, at that point of time Duryodhana sees her and he wrongly thinks that Draupadi had laughed at him, and that is why he gets upset. And because of that anger, it manifests itself in a, we do not know the past, but this is how Draupadi experiences acutely the discomfiture when she is humiliated in a court of the king. And at that point of time, look at fate, how Prarabdha captures up with an individual. This is where we must understand why we have to be so careful. So she is the wife of 5 husbands. Her first husband, Dharmaraja, was the embodiment of Dharma. Arjuna, the next husband, was the greatest archer of the whole world at that point of time, the most renowned and powerful archer with so many astras and divine weapons at his disposal. Bhima, his other husband, He had the strength of 1,000 elephants. He could kill 1,000 elephants single-handedly. That was his strength. But in her hour of greatest need, none of them, none of the elders in the palace, the king Dhritarashtra, the grandfather Bhishma, who was literally, the embodiment of Dharma, Vidura, none of them were able to come to the help of Draupadi. See, this is the fate of man. At that point of time, she remembers that there is nobody who is going to save me except Sri Krishna, and she prays to Sri Krishna. And what does Sri Krishna do at that point of time? He thinks to himself, Draupadi is calling me. What has Draupadi done for me that I should come to her rescue? Now look at it. I was so stunned by that particular episode, because she was such a great devotee of the Lord. She was a sister of Krishna, and yet, the Lord is thinking, what has Draupadi done that she deserves my grace? And at that point of time, the Swami reminded us the episode which took place on a Sankranti day. It's a very beautiful description by Bhagwan. And he said that it was a Sankranti day. Krishna was having sugarcane, and there were all these ladies around him. And it so happened that while eating sugarcane, he cut his little finger and it started bleeding. Now, the reaction of the ladies was very, very unique. Rukmini saw the bleeding finger of Krishna, and immediately he rushed inside to the inner chambers to get some bandage to tie on Krishna's finger. That was Rukmini's reaction. Then we have Satyabhama, his other queen, and Swami said, Somberi Satyabhama. Somberi in Tamil means, lazy fellow. So Swami said, Satyabhama calls her maidservants and say, hey, don't you see Krishna's finger is bleeding? Go get bandage and get quickly so that we can give remedy to Sri Krishna's finger. It was a Sankranti day. All of them are wearing new saris. Draupadi sees the bleeding finger, sees the blood on Krishna's finger, without batting an eyelid, without a second thought. Her new sari, pallu, she tears a piece from that edge of the sari and ties that little finger of Sri Krishna. Look at the mercy of the Lord. Look at the memory of the Lord. He remembers that moment and he says, for what Draupadi did for me, that little bandage she tied for me on my little finger, today I have to go and help her. And he just utters or makes one sankalpa, akshaya. And the next thing people find in the quote is, she is blessed with yards and yards of sari, and that protected her honor. This whole episode, which is so central to the entire Mahabharata, is a great illustration of the manifestation or the working of man's prarabdha in life. But for those who depend on God, those who trust God, those who love God and serve God in whatever way they can in their daily affairs, such people will never be forgotten by God, and see how God's grace came to her rescue in her hour of greatest need. Lord redeemed her honor and saved her life. So this is a beautiful episode which Swami used to narrate to the students from the Mahabharata. There's another beautiful reference which Swami gives in these discourses on Gajendra Moksha. I mentioned a few minutes ago that normally when a person is born as a human being, he will not go back to animal existence again unless he is under a curse. Now, Gajendra was actually a king in his previous lifetime, but he came under a curse of a Maharshi, and based on that, he was born as an elephant. But he was the king elephant, and he was moving around in the forest with all his kids, the baby elephants and the she elephants, and in the course of their whole journey, they became thirsty, and he sees that there is at a distance a pond, a lake, and they rush there to drink water and quench their thirst. So when they come there, they enter the pool of water, and summer, and they're all slaking their thirst and having a bath. And Swami, in this discourse, he gives a beautiful allegorical expression to this whole episode also. He said, what is that lake? That lake is essentially the lake of samsara. And the soul, thinking that it is going to quench his desires, quench his thirst for satisfying the senses, it enters this pool of water and forgets time, forgets the purpose for which. If he went there, drank the water, came out, the purpose would have been served. But he goes into the water, and then he forgets and then starts playing there, and after some time, see how the prarabdha catches up. In the water, he is caught by a crocodile. A crocodile comes from the water and catches his foot, and you know that an elephant is a very, very strong animal, but his strength lies on land. In water, it is the crocodile which is much stronger. So look at life's twists and turns and God's ways of also blessing us. God does not merely send us an adversity. He sends an adversity which is equal to our stature. If any other animal had come and attacked the Gajendra, maybe he would have just shoot it off. But here is a crocodile, and the crocodile catches the feet of the elephant, and then the elephant is a proud king elephant, and he starts the battle. And that's how the story goes, that they fight this battle for years and years. And slowly, first Gajendra depends on his physical strength, because he says, I am an elephant, I am so strong, and who is this puny crocodile? So first he uses his physical strength, then he uses his mental strength, but neither physical strength nor mental strength is useful and effective in combating the crocodile. And slowly, he finds that his strength is giving away. And then at that point of time, when he realizes, and all the other baby elephants and the she elephants, all of them seeing this, they are gone back to the shore of the lake, and they are crying, and they are piteously pleading and shouting, but nobody can help the elephant. He is all alone. He realizes that in this lake of samsara, he has to fight his battle all alone. At that point of time, he thinks of the Lord. He thinks of Lord Narayana, and he calls out to Lord Narayana. And Potana, the great Telugu poet who has written the Bhagavatam in Telugu, describes it amazingly. He says the Lord was playing with Lakshmi Devi. Suddenly he gets up. He did not even tell Lakshmi Devi where he is going. He did not summon for his weapons the Shankha and Gada. He did not call for his vehicle, Garuda, because you are too slow. Later on, Garuda caught up for him. See, there's this beautiful thought which is expressed. Fast is the speed of sound. Faster than the speed of sound is the speed of light. Faster than even the speed of light is the speed of human thought. See, at this moment, supposing you think of Mars, at this moment your mind will be in Mars. That is the speed of human thought, faster than even the speed of light, but faster that even the speed of human thought is the speed of God's grace. Even before you have thought, God is willing to rush to you, and that's what happens. That's how Lord Narayana leaves his heavenly abode and rushes to the presence of Gajendra, and Gajendra is holding this lotus in his hand and waiting to offer to the Lord. Somebody said, see, whatever grace the Lord wanted to shower on Gajendra, could he not have done it from Vaikuntha itself? Why did he have to come down all the way? And this is what the Lord says, no, anything else would have been fine, but Gajendra was holding, the lotus to offer to me. To receive that lotus, I had to go down, I had to go and meet him, I had to go and personally take that lotus. And Swami describes, what is that lotus? That lotus is nothing but the lotus of the human heart, filled with love, filled with devotion, and which is so very, very dear to the Lord. So the moment the Lord rushes there, he sends his Sudarshan Chakra, as the Bhagavatam describes, and the chakra goes and kills the crocodile, and Gajendra, of course, first the crocodile itself was under a curse, and he offers his obeisance. He was also, I think, a Gandharva in his previous life, and under a curse was born as a crocodile. So first the Gandharva is liberated, and then the next liberation comes for the elephant, after a beautiful conversation between the Lord and his devotee. So the question that is asked sometimes is, how is it that it was Gajendra the elephant who prayed to the Lord, and the first liberation was there for the crocodile who attacked the elephant? How can we understand the mystery of the Lord? And one of the great saints of Tamil Nadu, Alvars, they gave a beautiful insight on this particular development. They said, he who catches the devotee's legs, the true devotee's legs, that individual will be liberated by the Lord first. Crocodile, by catching the feet of this great devotee, Gajendra, he got liberated first, and then only came the liberation of Gajendra. So it's a very beautiful episode in the Bhagavatam, which describes, and very, very famous all over India, because it describes the power of divine grace. And Swami explains, what is that Sudarshan Chakra? It is not a weapon. Sudarshana. The Lord's looks fell on Gajendra. That vision of the Lord which fell on Gajendra, that itself, rescued him, that itself protected him, that itself liberated him. As Swami says in the discourse, he said, I used to say in Shirdi, if you look to me, I look to you. So the tragedy of human existence today is, we face challenges in life, but we do not know that there is somebody who can protect us, somebody who can rescue us, somebody who can save us, who is far more powerful than us, far more capable than us. And if you turn to him, he's just waiting to shower his grace. And that is what we have to learn from this Gajendra Moksha episode. Another great example from the Bhagavatam is that of Maharaj Parikshit. As I told you, during the Mahabharata war, Parikshit was in his mother's womb, and Ashwathama, who was fighting on the side of Kauravas, he had access to this very powerful weapon called Brahmastra, and he unleashes the weapon of Brahmastra with that mantra of Brahmastra, and he sends it to the womb of Uttara, who was carrying Parikshit at that point of time. And this particular Brahmastra is coming, and Parikshit, who is just a fetus in his mother's womb, he sees and he feels the heat of, and he's about to kill me. At that moment comes small Krishna in the womb of his mother, and with a small kirita and a small kundala, earrings, and a small kaustuba hanging on his neck, and he sees, and Parikshit, this fetus is wondering, who is this shining, splendorous person in my mother's womb? and he is literally there. How come he has all this glittering jewelry and I don't have it? This is the wonderful feeling that Parikshit gets. But the Bhagavatam Swami describes when this child is born, he is born dead because of the tremendous impact. So the Pandavas find that the child is not breathing, and he is the only person who is going to be the surviving lineage for the Pandavas. So now after the Pandavas, there is nobody going to rule the kingdom. So all of them are plunged into gloom. At that moment, Krishna arrives on the scene. And he says, what is this? Why are you all sulking like this? Why are you all so sad like this? And then he sees in the hands of Draupadi this little baby, and he says, what is this? Oh, how beautiful this child is. His eyes are like Abhimanyu, the father. His nose is like the father. His lips are like the father. And then Draupadi, it is rubbing like salt on the wounds of the Pandavas. Draupadi says, yes, Krishna, his breath is also like that of his father Abhimanyu. He is born dead. And then Krishna says, who says he's dead? Give me. And he takes the child and beats the child. And suddenly, that child who was declared dead on birth, that child starts breathing and crying loudly. And there is so much of rejoicing in the Pandava family that the child is no longer dead, it has come back alive. And Arjuna is not able to contain his joy. He says, Vamshodharaka, Vamshodharaka. And Krishna says, I am not going to be taken in by all these praises. When your son Abhimanyu died in the battle, you said Vamshanashi. This is how you describe. The tongue has got no bones. It can bend itself according to whatever. So when our desires are fulfilled, we praise the Lord to the skies. When our desires are not fulfilled or things don't happen the way we want, we say that, oh, God has ditched us, God has deserted us. One person who will never ditch us, who always, is having the welfare of all of us in his heart, and that is the Lord of the universe who takes care of every soul on earth. And this is what we have to always remind ourselves. So this is how Parikshit is born. Now, at the time of his birth, his grandfather Dharmaraja was very curious to know what the future of this child will be. So he called the astrologers and they give, wonderful, this is how your son will be. He will be a great king, he will be a great dharmic king, he will protect, he will bring glory to the whole clan, all this. Then suddenly Dharmaraja gets a doubt and he says, how will my grandson die? And the astrologers are a little perplexed by this question. He says, why do you want to know? Everybody has to die in some way or the other. Why are you asking this question? And he said, no, I want to know how he will die. And then this is what the astrologer said. Said he will die by a snake bite. And it was not considered to be an auspicious death. So the Dharmaraja felt very sad. See, why such an auspicious descendant, such a glorious descendant of our clan should have such an inauspicious death? So that is what is destiny. At the time of his birth, how he is going to die has already been fixed. See, that is how your prarabdha comes into operation. But how you face your prarabdha, that is your self-effort. And Swami would always say that grace of the Lord is proportionate to the effort that the individual makes. He would give the example, see, like a student. If a student has not got good marks, he has got failed marks. Now, supposing 40% is the pass mark, and if a student has got 10%, 20%, 25%, then the examiner will say, the teacher will say, no, this person doesn't deserve to pass. But supposing the person has got 36, 37, 38, then the examiner will start thinking, teacher thinks, can I give half a mark in this particular question? Can I give another half a mark for that particular answer? So little bit of grace marks here and there, the teacher or the examiner passes the student. So the grace is also like that. And Swami says the grace is proportional to human effort. And this is what I want to illustrate from the life of Maharaj Parikshit. Again, as fate would have it, one day Maharaj Parikshit goes as into the forest for hunting, and he gets separated from his retinue, and he is going here and there, searching for food, searching for water. He reaches an hermitage. He enters the hut, and he finds that a rishi is doing meditation, and he calls out to him, but the rishi doesn't respond because he is in deep meditation. So Rishi Samika. And so he gets a little annoyed, when a person is hungry, thirsty, and nobody is responding, and that too he is a king. So he gets annoyed. So he is leaving in a huff, and suddenly he sees a dead snake lying there. And he takes the dead snake in his hand, and he hangs it around the neck of the rishi as some kind of a punishment for not having immediately attended to him. Now, one of the friends of the rishi's son sees it and goes and reports to Shringi, and Shringi rushes there, and he sees that what his friend had reported is true, and he gets very upset. So he takes his kamandalu, takes water from it, and throws it in the direction of the receding Parikshit. He doesn't know who that person is. He throws it in his direction, and he says that he who has insulted my father, may he die from a snake bite of snake Takshaka in 7 nights from today. 7 days and 7 nights from today. So that is a curse he levied. After some time, when Samika comes to consciousness from meditation, he finds what has happened, and he's very upset with his son. He said, "You should not have done this kind of a thing." And out of his anxiety and concern, he sends a messenger to Parikshit to inform him this is what has happened. So Parikshit comes to know that he is going to die in 7 days from then. So this is how Parikshit's prarabdha has worked till then. But look at Parikshit, a great devotee of the Lord, and look at his reaction. He doesn't get upset with Shingi, he doesn't get upset with Samika, his father, he doesn't get upset with any other situation, adverse moment in his life that has happened. The moment he recognizes that his last moments are around the corner, he gives up his palace, he goes to the banks of the river, and he is asking everybody, please tell me, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And at that moment, see, in those days, there were no mobile phones, no internet, no satellite communications, but the entire Rishi community has collected there. Why? Because a great narration of the Lord's story, the Srimad Bhagavatam, is about to go and take place. And at that point of time, the great Rishi Sukha Maharshi arrives there. It is described of Sukha. Sukha was the son of Vyasa. Such was his detachment that he would not tarry in a particular place for more than half an hour, as much time as it will take to milk a cow. That much time he would tarry in a particular place and move on. But that Sukha Maharshi arrives there, and Maharaj Parikshit approaches Sukha Maharshi and tells him, Maharaj, please tell me, what should a dying man do? And then Sukha Maharshi tells Parikshit, this is not merely your question, this is the question of every human being on earth, because every individual human being is actually, whether he likes it or not, every moment moving closer and closer to his death. So this is not your question, that is humanity's question. It's a very important question, and I will tell you what is the appropriate thing to be done for such a person. And he says, think of the Lord, contemplate on the glory of the Lord. And then he deigns to tell him the story of the great avatar of Lord Sri Krishna. 7 days and 7 nights, giving up food, giving up hunger. Maharaj Parikshit, sitting in the banks of the river, he listens to the story of the Lord. And as his time comes, from a fruit which is offered as prasadam, there comes a small, the Takshaka is waiting to fulfill his destiny. The importance of the curse of being bitten by Takshaka is, see, if there is any other snake which may bite a person, the people will come and give antidotes for snake poison, and they can recover, bring about the recovery of the king. But Takshaka is a terrible, terrible poisonous snake, because such intense is the poison that it will lead to instant electrocution. In seconds, the whole body will be consumed in the poison, and there will be nothing left of the body. Such is the intensity of the poison of Takshaka. And Takshaka, comes in the form of a small insect, and then he manifests himself and he bites Parikshit, and Parikshit dies. So what was his destiny? His destiny was to die by a snake bite. That was his prarabdha. But by his self-effort, because he said that I have only 7 days to live, then I should not waste my time. I should use my time to the best optimal manner. And he asks Sukha Maharshi, who narrates to him the stories of the Lord. And that is how the great Srimad Bhagavatam was bequeathed to the cultural and spiritual heritage of our country. So that is how prarabdha was definitely there. But then how the self-effort of an individual takes place, that is how Parikshit, by his response to his prarabdha, won the grace of the Lord. And when you have the grace of the Lord, anything is possible. We have the example, Swami would often give us the example of Markandeya. Markandeya was destined to live only for 16 years. And at that point of time, it so happened that when he knew that he is going to die, and his parents also knew, so he goes into the temple of Shiva and he is hugging the Shivalingam and praying to the Lord and lost in the contemplation of the Lord. At that point of time, Yamadharma Raja arrives there to fulfill his mission. And he is wondering how to throw the noose on this little boy Markandeya, 16-year-old, because his time is over. But he is in worship and he is hugging the lingam of the Lord. So he says, anyway, I have to do my duty. So he throws the noose of death around Markandeya, but because he is hugging the Shivalinga, it falls on the lingam also, and from the lingam emerges Lord Shiva in full wrath. He says, how dare you think that you are going to, cast your spell on me and you are going to define my death? He said, no, my Lord, I did not mean you. Actually, I came to take the life of Markandeya. He says, who do you think you are? And then, he says, he's my ardent devotee. He has been praying to me. And he says, you get lost from here. And he blesses Markandeya to become a Chiranjeevi. He who was destined to die only after 16 years of his life, he becomes somebody with eternal life. So the intervention of the Lord, the divine grace of the Lord, works in amazing ways in an individual's life. One beautiful episode I will share with you from the life of one Miss Rani Java. She's an ardent devotee of Swami and a permanent resident now of the Prashantalilim Ashram. If you hear his talk in the Samarpan session of Dharmakshetra, Mumbai Sathya Sai organization, she narrates this particular episode from her life. So she was a businessman and had so many experiences with Bhagwan, intimate moments she has shared with Bhagwan, and a very successful businessman, a businesswoman. One day, she finds that her mother, while offering water to her, she finds that her mother is not able to see. So the moment she finds that her mother is not able to see, she thinks that her mother needs her presence, so she forgets all about. And at that point of time, it's a very difficult period. She had taken loans from the bank, and crores of money was lost in the closing down of the business, and she had a very, very tough time going through that. Uh, that was part of a story. But one day, Swami told her, why don't you go and get your nadi checked up? There's a very good fellow who,
Saram sir, can you unmute yourself? Saram sir, can you unmute yourself, sir?
sort of meet him. So at that point of time, when she goes to meet him, the first thing he says is, your guru's influence is very, very powerful on you. Then that's what the first impression he gets. Then he starts reading the nadi, takes out the nadi of this lady and starts reading out after due identification. And then he is shocked. And he says, I don't know, according to your nadi patra, you should not be alive today. You should be dead. How are you alive? And this is what the nadi patra fellow told her. So when she goes back, Swami asked, did you get your nadi read? He says, yes, Swami, but he told me a very strange thing. He said, my life is over, and he was very astonished that I'm still surviving. And then Swami revealed to her, yes, Rani, actually your life was over, and Yamadharma Raja came to take your life, but I intervened and I told him, don't take her life. Instead, you take whatever wealth you want from her, and you spare her life. So that was the reason why she suffered the crores of loss in her business. Of course, she said, whatever I lost, I recovered in a few years' time. 5-6 years it took her to recover those losses. But see, Swami saved her life, and today she is still alive and narrating Swami's stories to whoever is willing to listen, and a permanent resident of our ashram here. So we have seen it in the life of Swami's devotees also, how by a devotee's love for the Lord's heart would melt, and he would make interventions and see to it that, what Swami himself in the discourse, he says, see, it is like this. It's not as if the effect of the prarabdha is not there. It is like this obsolete medicines. Supposing if you take a medicine, it will be written, this medicine is valid only up to, say, January 2020. So after that, the medicine is there, the ingredients are there, tablet is there, capsule is there, but its effect is no longer there. So it becomes obsolete, it becomes outdated. So in the same way, Swami says that God's grace can see to it that though the prarabdha may be there, but he makes the devotee to experience in such a way that he doesn't even know that he is going through his prarabdha. Life just moves ahead without even getting the impact of the prarabdha. So that is how God's grace works. So very important in life that we should earn the grace of God. And it's not easy, especially when you are and therefore so important that we cultivate self-control, because Swami describes that the Maya is what distracts the vision of man, and God is there in his heart, but he is not able to visualize that God who is closer to him than anybody else in the world, any relation in the world, who knows him better than he knows himself. Such is the bond that the Lord has with each one of us. And but we don't get a vision of the Lord. Why? Because of Maya. and it distracts the attention of man and makes him his vision outward focus, and therefore he misses out on visualizing the Lord. But then Swami gives a beautiful, what should I say, uh, antidote to this problem of man also. And he says, this Maya is like a dancer that, she tries to attract, create so many allurements in your life in day-to-day world. And but she is like a nartaki, and just as a dancer, for her to dance, there has to be appropriate music for the dance. Similarly, for this dancer Maya, nartaki, there is an appropriate music which you can play, which is very, very dear to her, and she is the property. Maya is the property of Madhava, the Lord himself. So nartaki, if you reverse the letters, it becomes kirtana. So Swami says that to overcome the effect of this play of nartaki Maya, dancer Maya, man has to resort to kirtana, which means taking to kirtana, taking to singing the name of the Lord, taking to japa of the name of the Lord. One day it so happened that a lady whose husband had passed away, she got up in darshan line and told Swami, Swami, my husband passed away. And Swami said, good, now you dance. Now it looks so awkward or so unusual. Somebody's spouse has passed away, and the advice Swami is saying you dance. But dance means what? Dance is nartaki, is what is referred to as the dancer. So you reverse that. So what Swami says, from now onwards, focus your attention on God. Take the name of the Lord. Do his work in the name, taking his name. See, that was a beautiful insight which we get from a conversation between Vibhishna and Hanuman. When they meet in Lanka, Vibhishna, he confesses to Hanuman, Hanuman, you are so fortunate, so fortunate. You have the chance to have the darshan of the Lord. You have the chance to be associated in the Sannidhyam of the Lord. And look at me, here am I in Lanka, and I have been thinking of him, I'm praying to him, I'm remembering him, but yet, I don't have this fortune of seeing the Lord. And then Hanuman says, Vibhishna, it is true that you're taking the name of the Lord, but it is not enough to take the name of the Lord. You have to also participate in his mission. So, what have you done in the Lord's mission? Sita has been here for the last 10 months. What have you done to ensure that she is made more comfortable, or her stay is not as unpleasant as it could be? So, Dil mein Ram, Haath mein Kaam. That is the message which Swami has given to all of us. In fact, in one of these discourses, he said people think that, tyaga, they should go and renounce the home, the hearth and society and go into the forest and somewhere do meditation. And Swami said that is not the need of the hour. God himself, Sathya Sai Baba in the form of Bhagwan, came amidst us. He is divine incarnation. He came amidst us, and throughout his life he was associated with the welfare of humanity, welfare of his devotees. See how much from morning to evening he was working. And all the beautiful institutions that you see all over the world today, his educational institutions, his medical institutions, the Seva organization, all of these is the fruit of the sacrifice and tyaga of one person who was always rooted in Atma Bhava, in his Brahma Tattva, and yet he was so much engaged, intimately engaged with the challenges of society and making life easier, more peaceful and happier for everybody. So we must take a message from Swami's own life and incorporate it into our own life. And those who do it will experience the benefit of it. See, that is also something which we should not ignore. Swami would say, this whole program itself is being organized by the Sri Sathya Seva organization. So Swami would tell us, serve that you be saved. I'll share the incident of one of our own students. He completed his graduation from Brindavan, and his father was in the Indian Air Force, and he himself was aspiring to join the Indian Army. So with that aspiration, instead of joining for post-graduation at Prashantinilayam, he went for the competitive exams for the armed forces. So he cleared the first round, and it so happened that he was waiting for the second round. In his vicinity, in his locality, a blood donation camp had been organized. So thinking that he can also donate blood, he went there, and before taking blood, they do their testing. And as they were testing, they discovered that they could not take his blood because he was diagnosed with hepatitis. And this was a terrible shattering blow for that youngster, because number one, firstly, he is down with this ailment. Second thing is that with this kind of ailment, his chances of joining the Indian Army were ruled out, because apart from other things, they have a very stringent medical test. So he went into full depression. His mother also intensely praying to Swami, Swami, my son is having this problem. One day, when she was sleeping in the night, Swami came in the mother's dream. And even look at the love of a mother. That's why Swami would always tell all his students that you must not ever forget your duty towards your parents, especially first priority should be given to the mother. Matra Devo Bhava. Even from Adi Shankara's life, Swami gives that example. See, Adi Shankara wanted to become a sannyasi, but his mother was not for it. So he did not want to take to sannyas without his mother's permission. See, the same thing we find in Rama's life also. Ramo Vigravan Dharma. The moment, his father's desire was expressed that, Rama should not become the Yuvraj and go to exile at the prompting of the other queen, Kekai, immediately to fulfill his parents' desire, he just walked off, gave up the whole palace. So look at the kind of obedience, and that's why it is said of Sri Rama, Ramo Vigravan Dharma. He is the embodiment of Dharma. So Swami, gives so much of the Upanishads also say, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava. Consider your mother as God, father is God. In fact, I used to always tell students, the first value that you have to pick up from Satya Sai education is the reverence for your parents, especially for your mother, and the kind of love, selfless love that she has for a child. And that is what was expressed in this lady's case also. In a dream also, she remembers that her child is suffering, and she prays, Swami, Swami, nothing is going to happen to your son. And then Swami narrates one episode which took place in the student's life when he was in Brindavan. One day he was crossing from the ashram to the college. There is a drain there, and students usually use a bridge to cross that drain. And it so happened that dog had given birth to a puppy, and the mother had gone somewhere, and the puppy was searching, half eyes closed. It didn't know where it was going. It fell into the drain. It so happened that they were pricking the puppy from all sides. It was shouting in pain, and this child, the student, sees that screaming puppy. It's a drain, dirty water of the village is going through that drain. He jumps into the drain, picks up the puppy, and puts it on safe ground. It was almost 10 feet, 12 feet deep. And Swami said this happened not once but twice. Assurance to the mother, in my place, if anybody does any one good action, and Swami, I mean, the whole world belongs to the Lord, but we know that places like Brindavan or Prashantlayam, where the Lord spent so many years of his lifetime, are so very precious on earth. As he would say, the whole kingdom belongs to the Maharaja, but he does not install his throne in the bathroom. Right? There is a palace where the throne will be installed. So in the same way, Brindavan, Prashantlam, very, very special places. Swami tells anybody who does, very, good actions in my place, the fruit of that will multiply manifold, and the benefit of it they will come to know and later. So for what he did to the puppy in my ashram, in my campus, college campus, nothing is going to happen. A few days later, the student again goes for a medical test, and people say, sir, you have the antibody of hepatitis, but the infection is no longer there. So you see how by being associated in the service, you look at it, the student has even forgotten what has happened in the past, but one person who will never forget and who is waiting to shower his grace for all the little acts of seva that we have done in his name, or thinking of how it will benefit my neighbor or the person next to me. The Lord is not one person to forget it. His eyes are always watching us and waiting to shower his grace on us. And that is why Dil mein Ram and Haath mein Kam is a very, very important message that I would like to leave with all of you participants in the summer course of this year. Because see, what Swami says is not just listening. From all that you hear over the 7 days that you are participating, you should do first Shravanam, that is listening, then you must contemplate on it, that is Mananam, and then when you start practicing it, that is called the Nididhyasana phase. That is the final phase of the spiritual practice, and your spiritual fruits will fully be available to you only when you enter into Nididhyasana. So this is a very beautiful mantra which Swami has given us. Keep the Lord's name in your heart, Dil Mein Ram, and serve the Lord through whomsoever you meet in life. You don't have to do much. Even if you smile somebody at a person who is sad, if you can give your time to somebody who is in need of it. There's so many, for example, our students were sharing, so many migrant labor were affected all over India. And our students had organized kitchen. Our Sathya Seva organization has organized kitchens and giving free food to whomsoever is in need. So many others also have participated. See, in times of distress, when we think of the Lord and see how we can make the life of each other a little easier, a little better, see, that is where we know that we have brought heaven on earth. The avatar comes to celebrate the marriage of heaven and earth. He is there in Vaikuntha, but he is not satisfied. He comes down as an avatar to put man on the path so that they can experience on this very earth and in their earthly journey the experience of the heavenly abode. And Sathya Sai Seva organization is a wonderful platform for all of us to participate in these service activities. Once again, I congratulate all the participants in the opportunity and the fortune of participating in this kind of a program, and I thank the organizers for giving me the bhagyam of this satsang. So for this I close in the morning session. Over to our coordinators now.
Sairam sir, words fail in terms of how we could describe the incredible session of last 1.5 hours that has left our feelings incredulish, and we're spellbound to express how much our hearts have been filled with divine love and joy of being Bhagavan's abode. The incredible and never before nectarine journey through the glory of Divine Master has made all of us present over here enlightened with Bhagavan's grace. It was like watching a movie in divine presence of Bhagavan in Purnachandra Auditorium, and the senses are unfolding before us one by one. We express our heartfelt gratitude and love for your valuable time shared with us and for sharing your wisdom enriched by your divine affairs. May Swami bless you with His divine grace and love. Loving Sairam.
Sairam.
For all our Vidyarthis, today's dictum is Dil Mein Ram, Haath Mein Kam. In addition, please go through the chapters again and try to link today's session with the subject through Manana and place the questions in the WhatsApp group meant for all of you. We will share the questions with Sanjay Shanishar that he will address in the evening session. Now we will ask for permission from our Divine Master and request for a bhajan from his golden voice. Sairam.
भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, प्रेम भक्ति बिना उद्धार नहीं, गुरु सेवा बिना निर्वाण नहीं, ग्राम सेवा बिना निर्वाण नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, जप जान बिना संयोग नहीं, प्रभु दर्श बिना प्रज्ञान नहीं, दया कर्म बिना सत्कर्म नहीं, भगवान बिना कोई अपन नहीं, भगवान बिना कोई अपन नहीं, हरि नाम बिना परमात्मा नहीं, हरि नाम बिना परमात्मा नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, भजन बिना
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की
Jai
जय।